Okay, everybody, thank you so much for your patience. We're gonna go ahead and get started now. Ooh. Hello. Hi, everyone who is out there listening and watching. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It is right now, here where I am in Bali, it is 5 o'clock. And for those of you that haven't spent any time with me before, my name is Chrissy Beth, and I'm so happy that you decided to take some time out of your day to listen or watch what is actually my first live webcast. So I am a little bit nervous, but mostly because I'm just excited and I have a lot that I would like to share. So before we get into what the topic is of this webcast, which is to awaken your abundant heart, I'd like to first of all just tell you a little bit about myself, just kind of give you a bit of a background. So yes, I'm here in Bali and been here for a few weeks now, and I am so inspired by this place. If you've never been to Bali, I highly recommend it for lots of different reasons, and some of those I will talk about in the further in the webcast, just in regards to some of the things that are been really powerful for me to learn here, and it's really inspired me to just share what it is that I'm learning. I have been a yoga instructor for over 10 years now in a few different places. I am from America, but I live in Australia. I live on the Sunshine Coast, and my partner and I have a beautiful farm called Shambhala Farm, which we own and manage. And we have a yoga shala there, which is something that's new to the farm and that we're very excited about. So I've always been very passionate about, especially these last 10 years of my journey through this life, very passionate about living in a way that's the fullest that I can. And through many different experiences, I have found out a lot of things, as we all do, along the way. So when I was really inspired to share from my heart, which I have always been inspired to share from my heart, actually, since I was a little person. But now that's grown more and more through the teaching of yoga and facilitating women's circles, and now wanting to share in this way, because I think that not that I'm any master or anything like that, but I just have a lot of experiences that I think could be very valuable for others that are maybe looking to live more from an authentic place and looking to live a more vibrant, a more full and full of joy, full of love, that kind of stuff. Also, something about me is that I do love to laugh, and it is probably one of the main ways that I've stayed young as I've been on this earth for many years. And it's also one of the main ways that I want to share with you about how I've stayed open-hearted even through some really tough times, some stuff that's been really hard for me in my life, and how that's so powerful if we can stay with our playful nature, which a lot of us forget about when we're growing up. So that's just a little background on me. The other thing that I would love to say about this webcast, or probably anything that I share or facilitate, is that I will be as honest and as authentic as possible. I feel like there's so many, there's a lot out there on offer, and I find it challenging to connect to and resonate with, because I can feel that it's a bit too shiny. I don't know if that makes sense, but I probably am pretty far from being super shiny. So if you're looking for a shiny webcast, that's probably not going to happen here. If you want something that is really authentic, and probably there might even be some bit of mistakes, or not mistakes, but just little messiness here and there, that's what we're going to do. So before we get started into like, I keep saying that, but we're started. But I would love to take a moment. So no matter where you are in the world, or I don't know exactly where everybody's coming from, and I don't know exactly what's happened to you today or in your life these last few days. So what I would love to do is to take just a couple minutes to arrive. Maybe this is more for me. Take a couple of minutes to really arrive and allow our breath to just bring us more into the moment. If you haven't done any yoga before, it doesn't matter. Or if that sounds strange, don't worry. There might be some strange stuff as we go along, but it'll be good. So wherever you are, I encourage you to just find your most comfortable seated position. Maybe you're sitting on the ground or chilling. I don't know where you are. And just allow yourself to close down your eyes. And I say seated because if you're laying down, maybe you'll fall asleep. I don't want you to fall asleep. So finding that seated position, I'll do it with you. So we're going to close down our eyes and just allow, as you come into this space, and this is just a nice way to sort of let the day fall away, and it allows us to be really open to anything that is meant to come up and out during this webcast. So with your eyes closed down, let's just take 3 deep breaths together. And so on your next inhale breath, start to breathe in through your nose and really fill up your lungs and even fill up your belly. So it's a nice deep breath. And then exhale it out. So let's do another one like that. So deep breath in, fill up your belly. Maybe even open your mouth and sigh something out from your day. Maybe some stress. And then again, deep breath in. And then exhale to release anything. Maybe you do 1 or 2 more if you need to. So again, just allowing the breath to help us to come into this place together. Ooh, that helped me. I don't know if that helps you. And so now that we've arrived, I would just like to say that I'm really grateful for all of you that are here today, and what the people that have made the decision to join are actually really bringing their energy. You're bringing your own life and energy here, and that's helping to make this webcast exactly what it's meant to be. So thank you for doing that. And when we talk about awakening your abundant heart, it sounds really, even when I say it, I know it probably sounds like, oh, that sounds pretty exciting, or maybe that's something new to you. So either way, if it's something that you're already on that path of living with from more of your heart space, or if it's brand new to you, I want to talk a little bit about what that means from my perspective. So basically, when we live from our heart space, from the heart center, and when we're able to live in an open hearted way, what I found in my experiences is that we are so much more tapped into the greatest possible life that we can live. And if that sounds a little like, oh, how this is my truth that I'm here to talk about. So when we're open-hearted, we live in a more joyful way. When you have more of a closed heart, or maybe your energy around your heart is a bit blocked, what happens as we move through our life and our different experiences is that we start to put on different layers. So we go through life, we're a little one, we're a kid, and we're pretty joyful already. We're pretty open, and then as you start to move further into your life experiences, you can come into situations that are painful. We can have some trauma. We can have some really hard things come our way, something in our family. We can lose loved ones, heartache, all these sorts of things that are part of living and part of being a human. They will start to collect. And so, if you've never heard of these sorts of things, just stay with me a little longer, and to stay open to this idea that we are made up of. We obviously can feel and we can see our physical body, but we're also very much more than that, right? All of our layers that you cannot see, the emotional side of ourselves and the energetic body, if you will. So all of these things, maybe we're not having trauma to our body per se, but when we move through life, and if we have some emotions come up, and if we have some things happen in our life to us that bring deep sadness, or maybe it's anger, these are things that if we do not let them go, if we don't move through them, if we don't feel them, first of all, because a lot of us move through life pushing down all of the tough stuff, the not so good stuff. And we are taught that, I think, very much as a society. We tend to not allow, even as you're growing up, it's like, don't want to see, don't cry, and don't make a big deal out of that, don't fuss. So even as sometimes as kids, we are taught that this is no good, to allow the emotions to come out. So of course things are getting stuffed down, or sometimes we keep the anger, or we keep the sadness, or we keep that whatever that is that's attached to that old relationship, that feeling of, that you're not worthy for whatever reason. Someone said something cruel to you and you can't, it's still there. So what happens then is that those layers, so I'm just showing you because around my heart, those layers start to pile up, and we get stuck, and we become, well, first of all, we obviously just feel heavier in our bodies, all the layers, our emotional body and physical body. And we become disconnected from what I believe is our true path. So whatever it is that we're meant to be, living our daily life, whatever kind of, job would bring us so much joy, we're disconnected from that, or that beautiful person or people, friends, or a partner that we just can't see. Maybe they're right around the corner, but we can't see because we're stuck here. So what I found through my own practices of yoga and otherwise, and just through my life experiences, is that if we can allow ourselves to understand, or at least acknowledge, that maybe we're a bit stuck there, and that we do need to move through those layers and release some of them, not all at once. My goodness, no, we're not trying to do that. I mean, gradually, because it takes a long time to build up this what can be a stuck energy. And so we give ourselves time, right, patiently, to allow those to release. And it is absolutely possible for anyone. I believe 100% that each of us is so capable and so powerful to live these beautiful, bright, love-filled, joy-filled lives. And that being said, we do have to do the work. I don't mean in a way where we have to focus all on the things that have happened to us that are negative, but I do mean that we have to let ourselves look at that, acknowledge that that is there, so that then we can let it go. And so when we are starting to do this work, and when we're starting to bring in these practices, which is a couple of the things that I want to share with you today. Can't talk about all of it. I wish we could. when we start to allow these things to become a more of a regular part of our daily life, this is where we see the change. This is where we see the shift, and where we start to meet these amazing people that bring in different opportunities or just bring in lots of love and joy. We start to just run into situations where like, oh, that's a coincidence. No, it's not. It's not a coincidence. These things that are happening around us, and they just all of a sudden start to to close that. All of a sudden, they start to show up, and you think sometimes that this is a coincidence as you start to do the work, but actually, it's because you're starting to move in through your life with that more open-hearted way, and this is the magic. I truly believe this is the magic. It's we can talk a lot about. You hear a lot about like if you just have a healthy body, right? Like eat your healthy food and go on this certain meal plan, or do, even in the yoga world, it's like do this type of yoga this many times a week and you're good to go. And I strongly believe that it's even bigger than that. And it's actually simpler than that. But the simplest things, I think, are sometimes the most powerful. So the abundant heart is something that you have access to. Those of you that are listening, maybe you already are experiencing this sort of a life, and and maybe you're just in a place where you need a little bit of reminder, because I always need reminders. I love reminders from my teachers and from the Balinese people. They're reminding us every day here in this sacred place. So no matter what place you are at in your life experience, if you're moving right now from a really abundant heart space, or maybe you're a little stuck and you don't know what to do, or if you've never really heard about this, all of this applies to all of you. All of it applies to me as well. The beauty of this is that I'm constantly relearning my truth. So that's what this experience and this trip has helped me to put out there, is all these tools that I have somehow collected along the way through the yoga, through my life experiences, that now I just want to share with you. So let's talk about what is one of the things, the steps, if you will. There's probably a better word. Practices is another word I like. What is one of the practices that we could start to integrate? And you could start it now. You could start it tomorrow morning. You could start it at any time. And that will create powerful shifts and changes and just movements towards what it is that you truly crave in your life, that you truly desire. There's a lot that I wanted to share today about living in more of an abundant heart space, because I don't want to I'm not going to take too long. I'm going to touch on at least 2 or 3, and then go from there. And then we'll meet up again and I'll share it with you. But I've been working on a 7-day program, which some of these things that I'm going to touch on today are from that 7-day program, which I'm really excited to put out there, but it's almost ready. We're at the middle stages. So one of the things that we can talk about is to set intentions. And what I think is really beautiful about having our webcast today is that it is the new moon right now. And the time of the new moon is a really powerful and important and beautiful time for us to really move into something new, or to put out into the world, like to either have an affirmation that you speak out loud or you write down for yourself, something that you would like to move closer to in your life, whether that be in love, whether that be in your financial life, you want to be more abundant there, or your business, you want to start creating something new, your art. So this is a beautiful time for us to be having this conversation. I think because of the new moon energy and all that's around us, and especially that when we all come together like this, we're actually like, this is what I feel is like we're all lifting each other up, all of us that have decided to join, and we're actually like magnifying magnifying that energy of what we would like to move towards. So one of the things that I find that is so powerful in my life, and when I move away from it, I know pretty quickly, and it's very simple, and maybe it's something that you already have a grasp on, but it's a good reminder, I think, even if you do. And that is simply about the way that we begin each day. So I was, this was at the beginning of the Bali trip, which is a few weeks ago now. And I was up here. So when we live from our heart space, we're not so much stuck in the brain. The brain is so good for so many things, isn't it? But it can really hold us back when we get stuck in our fear, which is a lot of times where the thoughts in our brain are coming from: ego, fear, and usually not the good kind of fear that's like helping us out of a dangerous situation. It's the kind of fear where we are feeling self-doubt, or we're putting ourselves down, or we're comparing ourselves to someone else instead of just looking at our amazingness that we are. That kind of fear. And I was in my fear brain and I'd woken up, and that's literally what I just went straight into my mind, and thoughts that weren't positive at all. And I think I was maybe comparing myself to someone that I'd seen the night before, on social media or something. And it just I wasn't in the best space because I was up here. And I even remember like watching myself, when you can like look at yourself from above, and looking at myself and going, really? So this is how you're going to start your day? Like right straight away into negative thoughts, fear, brain. And what I think to speak about that is that the moment we wake up, we're in such a powerful position to like set the tone for that whole day. And I know that I as well, I will do this as well. Still, we take for granted a lot of times that we even wake up. Like we have this whole new day, and the first thing we do is we wake up and we think about something bad that happened yesterday, or we wake up and we immediately start to worry about the thing that we're not sure about that's supposed to be happening today, or something going on in our family, and what's powerful about it is that if we spend enough time in that space here, in fear or anger or comparison or whatever that is, worry, and we spend at least a few minutes there, and we really let ourselves get into it. I don't know if you like me, I can just get right stuck into that energy. Unfortunately, that is where our day and our energy and our day starts to flow that way. And we start to wonder, all of these things start to sort of spiral, and things start to kind of collide, and we have no idea why that's happening. Why is that happening? And why did this happen? And like more negative stuff. And why did he do that? Why did he say that? Or, just our perspective on everything is quite negative and from the brain, not from the heart. And so I was thinking about all these negative things, and I just had this moment where I just felt like, you know what? Shut up. brain. This, and I needed to switch, and I could feel that I was stuck there and I just needed to switch. So I picked up a book. I think it was The Artist's Way, and I was reading all these amazing, inspiring quotes and things, and it immediately just shifted my perspective, and I could feel my focus and my energy moving from here down to here, down to where I truly want to be led by in my day, my heart space, my intuition. And then the next day I woke up and I immediately went outside, and I just let myself listen and watch as the light came, as the sun came up, and listen to the birds, and sat and just was quiet with myself. And if any of the thoughts came that were a little bit negative, I just allowed them to pass, and I would come back to something that was positive, anything. Like, even if you're really reaching for it because you're just having a tough time right now, that's great. Like, anything. You could be laying in bed and be like, oh my God, I love my bed. It's so cozy. There you go. That is a beautiful start to your day. It's way better than, going straight into something negative from yesterday. So what I am saying is that the way that you start your day is probably one of the most powerful tools and practices that you can begin straight away. And this can be, because we all love different things. I love coffee. That's something that, if anyone knows me, usually knows that's pretty quickly. That's a thing. I love coffee, and I love the meditation of making myself a cup of coffee, or more than a cup, probably. And just the beauty of waking up and going and doing it however I'm doing it that day. It's been a little different here as we're traveling, but I still have been getting up, and usually wake up pretty early, get my coffee started, get out my journal. I light, if I have my, at home, I usually light a candle, and here I've been lighting incense. So this all sounds probably like, well, it's a big deal about, making your coffee, but it's that I've created a ritual, if you will, a habit, a really healthy habit that I love, that sets my day in that beautiful way, that positive way. And instead of waking up and immediately, going to social media or turning on the radio or the television or something, that's can be negative a lot of the times, or just maybe it's not something that helps you to lift yourself up. And usually those sorts of things are going to bring us back into our brain and are probably more of the fear part of ourselves. Whereas when we can set our own rituals, simple as they may be, maybe you like to just get up and listen to music, or you like to get into the kitchen. But that's one of the things that, especially when I move into my 7-day program, is we have a very strong emphasis on every morning making something a ritual for yourself. And this can be very sacred. And that word, if you're not as comfortable with that word, or you're not quite sure about the word sacred, I was raised in the church, in a very religious home, and I probably had a very different energy around the word, what maybe sacred, than I do now. I think some of the simplest things, the simplest acts that we do every day can become the most sacred acts. In Bali, one of the most beautiful reminders that we have here, living amongst the Balinese people, and they're such lovely people. They have nothing, like some of them have, they live in little maybe huts, shacks. Some of them, they don't have much money. They don't have all the fancy gadgets that we have, the clothes, whatever, all the things that have become quite important to some of us in the Western world. but they're so full of love and light and joy. And one thing that they do every day, they do offerings. So wherever you stay in Bali, or every cafe, every place has a little temple. And they might not all look the same, but you recognize whenever you go somewhere, there's a little temple. And we were at a cafe the other day, and I was with my friend, and she and I were just sitting there. We just ordered our coffees, and we're just sitting there talking. And we looked over, and it wasn't the first time I'd seen it, but there was something about it, because this was quite a busy cafe. Like, everyone was sitting quite close to this, where the the altar. I probably said temple earlier, didn't I? Yeah, but you know what I mean. An altar. Some of them are temples, but anyways, like a little altar that, some of them are big, actually. And at this cafe, but it was quite amongst all of the tables. And this was like a really popular cafe, and everybody was there, and it was busy. And this man that was working at the cafe, like, I think he seated us, he took his offering, and they have a little, I don't know, sometimes they'll have flowers, food, incense, but it's like quite small, and it's sometimes in a banana leaf, or it just depends. And they will take it up to their altar. And this man, in the middle of all that was happening, the action-packed cafe, he walked up to the altar, and he was just standing there, and he was doing his offering and his prayer. And there was something so powerful about that. He was amongst, especially all the Western people, right? Like, we're all just doing our thing and loud, and he was just in his moment. And he was so, you could feel that it was so sacred to him. It didn't matter that everyone was around, and there was quite a few of us quite taken by what he was doing and watching this man. And that's the thing that they have here, is that energy around maybe just that it is important and powerful for us to take time out of the day. And I think this can translate in any way that makes sense to you, because it does not need to be the same as what they do here. It does not need to look the same as what I might do for my morning ritual, which is sacred to me. And that's beautiful. I think and so what can be powerful is to find the habits and the rituals, whether it be in the morning or something you do in the evening, or when you get any time in your day, that you just allow yourself that time. Because I know that it's hard sometimes when you have very busy and full life, but it is very powerful for us to connect to honor, if you will, to honor that place in ourselves that is greater than all of the noise that is around us and all of the distractions. And that's exactly what that man and what all of the Balinese people do. Every day when you're walking around, you'll see little kids going and making offerings. And it's just something, it's their tradition. It's something that they honor, that towards their gods, towards what they believe in. So I encourage you, I guess one of the things that I would really hope that you could take away from, if anything, from this first webcast that we are having together, is that to start to take that experiment with yourself, because there's no right, perfect way to do this. And I'm still experimenting, and mine has changed a lot. I used to do a really strict yoga practice, and I would do that how many times a week? Quite a bit. And now it's shifted a lot more, because my life has shifted so much. And I've also found something that's a practice that's healthier for me. So for me, mine was to get up, make coffee, light my incense or my candle, sit with my journal, have a moment of quiet, write a page or two, and it just has had powerful effects for me on my life, where I am in my life now, as opposed to before. I used to do anything in a way that was quite sacred or had that intention behind it. is very, very different place. My life is not perfect by any means. I want to make sure that I'm clear that I have still my own struggles. I still, get stuck in my fear brain. And I'm always trying to work out or be open to what it is that's going to help me to keep moving up into my highest version of myself. And so I do believe that if you could start to explore, even in your mind, what I think is really beautiful about when we start to listen to our heart space, our intuition, and if you're finding it hard to hear your own voice, that's super normal. Especially if you haven't been living from more of an open-hearted place. It's very normal to walk around and be living from a place of expectation from society, from your family, from something you saw on Facebook. No, but it's not funny, but it is kind of funny, like some of the reasons we do things. So when we start to move closer to these practices and allow these practices to show themselves, because you'll find that you'll start experimenting and you'll have a few things come up and you'll think, oh, it's not, that's probably not something that I would do regularly. And then you'll surprise yourself and it will actually organically just start to unravel into something really powerful for you. So allow yourself to experiment with what you need and what works best for you and your body and your emotional body, your energetic body. So if it's waking up early, maybe give it a try. If you're not someone that usually likes to get up early, I encourage you to just give it a go. Maybe even, try it for a week, set your alarm, and then just see, like if you're waking up around the same time as the sun, it can be a very powerful time for you to start to move into your whole day can very much shift, I believe, if you can just give yourself that chance to begin by whatever the ritual is, whether it be meditation. If you don't really meditate or you're new to that, that can simply just be sitting quietly. Maybe you want to put on some quiet music, something that helps you to just be calm. Or maybe you're like me and you want to make yourself coffee. Maybe you want some tea and you want to write. Maybe you need to wake up and you immediately want to do your practice, whether it be your yoga practice or you need to draw or do whatever it is that's creative for you. So once you start this experimentation, which I encourage you to, I'm challenging you to to start tomorrow, even, especially with the new moon energy. Like this is such a beautiful time to start those new rituals, habits, experimentation. If you start something and say you start something tomorrow and you try it out for a few days and it just doesn't feel good, like it's just not working, then just scratch it and then give it another go. When we start with these practices, if we're going to talk about, some of you might have, for whatever reason, maybe you find that you don't have that chunk of time in your morning. I encourage you to always try for the morning, because I think can be the most powerful way to just start moving your day in that direction of abundance. But I understand that sometimes we just, for whatever reason, with job, family, anything that you've got going on your plate right now, can bring us the challenge there to find that space. So make it anytime. Anytime during your day. If you can do it before you go to bed, whatever your ritual is, maybe if you have multiple rituals, that's even better, right? The more rituals, why not? But so I don't want to discourage anyone that's like, this is the kind of work I do and there's no way I can do a morning. anytime during your day. Give yourself, start with at least 10, 15 minutes where it's just you with yourself, maybe some music, whatever it is. Start to experiment and commit to it. Like, write yourself a note after this webcast is finished. I would really encourage you to sit and just write yourself, this is what I want to do. Just set an intention. I want to wake up this week at 5 in the morning or 5:30 or however it works for you. And I want to give myself 15 minutes where I'm going to sit with some music, or I'm going to write in my journal. I'm going to make myself coffee. And that right there is you creating a sacred space for yourself. And then from there, it's going to, I'm really excited thinking about it for you, especially for those of you that, like, if this is all really new, it can be a bit overwhelming. And I know I get a bit excited, so try not to overwhelm you. But once we begin this type of work, this practice, which is actually so fun, we can quickly, I believe, very, very quickly start to see our life take on a different shape. And that's where we can start to, like I was talking about earlier, is you feel like you can't hear your own intuition. Like, I remember feeling that way so much. And I was always asking other people for their opinions. I've been in and out of that sort of where I feel like I need to go to other people for advice, or I need to read all of these books that will help me to know what to do. And we're so saturated, right, with all of the information, especially now with information from the internet and from our iPhones or whatever it is that we use, and that we get lost and we can't hear the heart compass leading us in that direction. It's kind of like there all the time, going, hey, no, remember you want to do that over there? Remember how you wanted to move into more love? Oh, there was that person you should have met. And we're just so busy listening to what is not our own path and our own voice. And then we wonder why our path and our life just feels really hard. And I'm not saying that if you start to listen to your heart that everything just gets easy and there's no problems. That would be a lie. But I do believe there is truly, what I feel is there's a peacefulness as you're making decisions from your heart space that are true for you. As you're running into the right people, you can feel it in your heart space when it's that peaceful feeling, when you're going in that direction, the direction that your heart compass is truly pointing to. As you move into these practices, whether it be starting early in the morning or whenever time during the day where you give yourself at least that 15 minutes, which would maybe grow as you do it more, you're going to start to really tap into, again, your own voice. Now, what can happen when we start to do this is that our own voice can almost feel a little bit foreign. Like, it won't always feel completely right, because if it's new for you to listen to your own heart space and your own intuition, it might actually feel a little bit strange. I remember when I was going through this phase, I had this friend, and this wasn't that long ago. This was a couple years ago, and she was beautiful, and she was a very powerful friend and very influential. But what happened in our relationship was I stopped listening to my own intuition and my own voice, and I listened to everything that she said. And what happened as we moved further into this relationship was I literally was calling her, messaging her about everything. It's like, does that sound healthy? No. And it's funny, at the time, like, it was just normal. I started to rely on this person who was so powerful in my eyes and knew all the answers. And then things got really confusing, and there was no peace in my heart. And once I started to let myself move away from this person, and I started listening to my heart again, it was a little bit weird at first. I was kind of like, oh, I don't need to call that person anymore. Oh, I don't need to go to this book anymore. So don't be surprised if when you start to move into deeper heart space energy and start to move more from that abundant heart energy, if it's a little bit maybe overwhelming at first because or confusing just because you're used to uh, uh, listening to the voices, the distractions, the information that is being thrown at you that is not your own intuition. But I do believe that goes away pretty quickly as long as we're staying true to our practices. What I've found for myself is that I can start my practices and I get really good at, like in this really beautiful flow, juicy, everything's like, I'm like, life is lovely and it's beautiful. And then I stop, doing my journaling. I stop doing, sitting and lighting my candle at my altar, or my practice of yoga starts to fall by the wayside. And it spirals pretty quickly that I'm a bit lost. I can't really hear what it is I'm meant to be doing next. My day is a bit less like flowy. It just feels a bit clunky. So just reminder that even as things start to be beautiful, that's even more so when we want to keep doing that daily practice. Again, you're going to find out whatever is right for you. I think one of the other things that I would love to share is the importance of, and I know this is something that we hear about a lot more now, but I wanted to speak to it tonight, that say you have your morning practice, whatever ritual, whatever you want to call it, or your daily, if it's not going to be your morning. So say you have that, and that's beautiful, and you have that going, and you're still sort of struggling with just what's happening in your life. Maybe you still have a lot of stuck energy. Maybe you keep, what can happen is we feel like we are moving forward. We feel like we're starting to move into a more abundant flow. We can feel a little bit more, we're tapped into our intuition. And then and then the lesson that we haven't yet let go of, or the thing we haven't let go of, it keeps coming back to us, if that makes any sense to everyone. The lesson, whether it be a similar, say we finish and one of our relationships, meet a new person, yay, and have our new relationships, exciting. And then the same lesson comes up. We're like, wait a minute. And if you have it enough times, you can't really blame it on the people. You have to look at yourself, don't you? So one of the things that I would like to speak to about, we can be we can be eating the healthiest food. We can be strong in our yoga practice, amazing, la la la, or whatever it is that we like to do physically. Can be really strong and healthy and physically fit. We can eat the best food, and we can be financially doing really well. But if we are holding on to old energy around, say, that thing, like when I spoke at the beginning of the webcast about when we get hurt, when we have heartache, we can sometimes just keep those layers around our heart because, first of all, we don't want to have that happen again, right? How many of you have been through something and it hurts so bad, or it's really traumatic, that you have to put up your armor because, God forbid, if that ever happened to you again, you don't think you could make it through. You don't think that you could survive another thing like that. I've felt that way. And so it makes sense, right? Like, it just makes sense as a coping mechanism that we put a big old armor layer around our beautiful hearts, because we don't want that to happen to our heart again. That was painful. And so when this happens enough times, we run into the problem of cutting off Yes, maybe we're protecting ourselves from future pain and heartache, but what else happens? We cut off and we protect ourselves so much so that we lose the connection to being open to all that is beautiful, to love, to greater love, to joy, to playfulness, which is so powerful to have that every day, to have a playful energy. And so in summary, it makes sense, and I've done it as well, and I continue to do it, and I'm very aware of it now when I can feel that I've done it. Something really shifts for me when I can feel I've put up a super strong piece of armor, because I just can't feel as much all the other things. So we almost live in a state of like our heart being a bit numb, if you will. So we might not feel like if someone's trying to give us love, it's really hard to receive. It's really hard for us to receive when we're holding on tightly to that pain or the armor that we put up earlier in our life. I'm not even talking about the last couple of weeks. I mean, it could be years ago. And our energy body is still keeping it because we haven't allowed that to be released. There's a lot of beautiful things that can come in your life, and it's not that you don't feel them. It's not that you're not experiencing love. From my own experience and from especially being a yoga instructor for the last 10 plus years and being working with other people who have been working through their armor and seeing the difference in my life and their lives from when they've allowed themselves to release from the old story, if you will, and the old antiques that we collect. We all have our own little antique collections in there around our heart. And when they release these old stories, which can be really hard because we're really creatures of habit, and if we're used to feeling that one way, or if we're used to being so protected, it can be very hard and scary to allow ourselves to move away from that, whether it be a relationship or, again, just an idea about ourselves or an old image or something that is in our brain and our heart. So one of the practices I would love to share with you, and it's actually when I do my 7-day program, it's quite, I'm looking at my notes. I'm looking over here because these are my notes. So it's actually quite towards the end of the program, because I do feel like it's something that we need to give ourselves time and space and be in the right space and energy to be able to move into that kind of a practice. But I wanted to come into this webcast and this offering to you with an open heart. Really? Crazy. No, but seriously, I had a little bit of a structure, but I also really wanted to allow for anything that might organically, just naturally, intuitively sort of come up, depending on who is listening and watching. And I can just feel that this feels like a really powerful practice to share with you. And I encourage you to do this. If it doesn't feel right to do it this evening, allow yourself to maybe give it a go at a time when you you can feel that it would work a bit better for you. And so I'll explain what it is. So maybe it will automatically feel like something you'd like to try. This is a practice that I still do. Probably quite a lot. I've found there's lots of different ways that we can allow old energy and old ideas and old emotions and relationships that we're kind of holding on to. One of the most powerful ways for me has been through my yoga practice and moving my body. And that still is very powerful. And like even today, I knew I wanted to be really open for this webcast. And I made sure that I got onto my yoga mat and I moved my body and did some heart opening and just so I could be really, really prepared, if you will. But another practice that I found is actually so powerful, is something called, which maybe some of you have already heard of this, but cord cutting. And it's more of something that you do visually, like it's quite powerful because you're picturing all of these things and people. So if you're feeling open to trying this practice, I would love to take a minute or two to move through it together, and just allow for patience and space. And if it feels a bit too much to try, then don't worry about it. You can always come back to this and you can try it again any other time when you're feeling ready. It's basically allowing yourself to, it will probably show itself to you pretty quickly, something that you can feel that you are holding on to, something that you can ask yourself. You can just ask your own body and energetic body, because we know so quickly, we have so much wisdom. We just, again, are always tapped into it. But if there's a person, or maybe it's even a thought about yourself, an idea that you know is really holding you back, or you can just feel there's something there that you just, it's time, and you can feel that you need to, you're tired of it, you want to get rid of it, you want to make space for the new. So I would invite you to close down your eyes, and just to, when you close down your eyes, just take a breath or two in, just like we did at the beginning. And as you sit there just quietly, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is it right now in my life that I no longer need? What is it right now in my life that I've been holding on to that it's time to let go? So any version of that question, allow yourself to just sit quietly with that question about what is it that you don't need anymore. It's taken up some space and it's time to let it go. And the answer may be, again, I don't need to really coach anything here. This usually comes up for us pretty quickly. I want you to now just allow yourself to picture that, whatever that is. So if it's a person, and this can be a little bit confronting, but I encourage you to just give it a go. I want you to actually let yourself in your mind be facing the person. Like you're looking at each other. Now, if it's not a person and it's an experience, or it's a word, or maybe it's something about yourself, I just picture myself looking in the mirror, or allow the word or the thought to just be there in your mind. And what's happening here is that we have, and you can picture now the cord. There might be a string or a cord that's running from you, your body, and it's attached to that thing, that person, or that experience. I want you to actually picture the cord. So see your attachment to that. And what's powerful about this now is that we're going to see, as we look at the thing or the person, we are acknowledging, we're allowing ourselves to feel that experience again. Maybe not on that as deep a level, because we're not going that deep into this, but we're just allowing ourselves to, in some way, kind of just remember and acknowledge it. And so if someone was hurting you, or if there was anything that you were thinking about yourself that was negative, just feel that and allow yourself to say, okay, I acknowledge that that has happened. See it and see the cord. And then I want you to picture the scissors. And you're holding the scissors because this is powerful. You're doing this. So you're holding the scissors, and I want you to cut the cord. Like, really picture yourself, cut the cord. And once you cut the cord and you can see that it's cut, now you can see it's gone. The cord is no longer there. There's no more attachment to that person or that experience, that thing. And I want you to turn around, and the other thing you're going to walk away from. And take a moment and watch yourself walking away. And you know there's no cord, so there's nothing that's pulling on you anymore. And you're walking away from that whole experience, from the thought, from the idea you used to have about yourself, from the relationship. Now take a deep breath in. And use your exhale just to clear anything out. And then when you're ready, you can slowly come back. Slowly open your eyes. Sometimes when we do that practice of cutting the cord to something that we held for a long time, it can feel it can be hard afterwards, can feel a little strange, because when you do that energetic work, it's actually very powerful. I've done it with lots of different relationships and things that I felt about myself, and it almost feels sometimes a little bit sad, like if you're really like anything that you're attached to, you know, if you let go of it, you can feel a bit sad and almost a little bit like, I don't know if there's regret or anything. So just allow yourself, if you did that practice, if you weren't ready to do it, that's okay. You can always try it again some other time. Allow yourself that time and space to feel anything that comes up for you, and know that it's okay. There's nothing abnormal about it. And if you did do it, I think it's beautiful, because it can be scary, and it can be quite, if you've never done something like that before, any sort of like cutting of in your mind of from another person or energetically, you might find it a little strange, and it's okay. Like, if whatever you feel is perfect. And maybe you might even wake up in the morning. And what's beautiful about what we've done is that when we allow ourselves to let go, whether that be through that practice that we just did, or whether that be through physically moving your body, which is really powerful for helping us to release emotions and old energy. You might wake up tomorrow morning and just feel the space. And what I mean is feel the space that you've created around your heart and in your life. Because when we have, like I said earlier, when we have all that stuck energy, old layers, we aren't able to see as well all the opportunities, which are unlimited actually, that are waiting for us, because we're so stuck in the old stuff, right? We don't have any room. Like, think about all the, like an old antique store, right? They just collect all the old stuff. They're beautiful, kind of getting dusty, and there's more and more. And if nothing is moving out from the antique store, we can't bring anything new in. So I don't know, I always get that image of antiques. It's strange. But so what we've done is we've created space for the new love, for the new abundance, for the new art, for the new relationship, for the new friendship, whatever it is. And we can see it so much easier, and we're going to move towards it so much quicker, because we have allowed ourselves to open up to it, because we're not clinging anymore, and we're not connected anymore to the old. I hope that was helpful, and I did that in a very simplified way. You can do that on your own and take more time and sit in front of maybe a candle or something sacred to you, maybe a picture, maybe, that's something that I think is actually really powerful for us to do. And when we, as I mentioned before, when we have something come up that's recurring, that seems to, it seems to just keep showing itself, whether it be the person or a certain kind of energy that we seem to keep inviting into our lives, and it's not one that we want. That I know that when I first originally learned about how to do the cord cutting, it was just for with a person, like a relationship that I was no longer in anymore, or a friendship that wasn't healthy. But I actually have found in my own practice and experience that it's very powerful to also do when it's talking about not just a relationship, but actually your own energy and different energy that's coming towards you, or old patterns we have in our brain about ourselves, like I'm not good at this, or someone said something to us that just is stuck in there from when we were little. Even doing cord cutting with that, I find to be very powerful. So that's something that I encourage you to do if you're feeling like you just can't shake. Shake. Sometimes just doing that. Oh, you know how dogs shake, shake, shake. So if you just can't shake, if you can't shake it, whatever it is, try sitting and doing what we just did with the cord cutting. I hope that this is beneficial and that you're finding this helpful for you. I was just seeing that we have gone for a little longer than an hour, and I don't want to go too long, because sometimes when we talk about, especially when we talk about some of these things where I do feel they're so potent and they hold so much power, even though they're really simple. When you think about it, all I talked to you about a lot was practices of how to start your day and things like that. But just remember that sometimes those very, very simple things, like the Balinese are reminding me every day of their sacred time that they take every day. Maybe they only take 5 to 10 minutes, but it's still something they're doing, that intention. They're moving towards that energy of something beautiful and something that's bigger than them. And they're giving gratitude, which is another thing that I want to talk about in my next webcast, because that's a powerful one, practice. Though, don't take for granted the beauty in and the power in your simplest of practices for your everyday life. And it is, you have every right to move closer to your abundant self, your abundant heart, your abundant love life, your abundant financial life. It's all connected, I believe. And I encourage you to watch and observe as you start to move. If you decide to take some of these practices and place them into your own life, in your own day, maybe even starting tomorrow, I encourage you to watch and just observe how things start to shift, or how you feel in the morning, in the day, after you do your morning practice, whether it be write in your journal, whether it be just sit quietly with yourself in front of a candle, or if you're somewhere beautiful, like here in Bali, there's rice paddies everywhere. If you just sit or walk through the rice paddies, or whatever it is, something that will inspire you, and then just see the shift and how that moves your day, and how that can create then shifts for those people around you, your loved ones, your family members. They're going to look at you and be like, like in a good way, like, what's going on with him or her? What's happening? What have you been doing? You'll look different. You'll look brighter. Notice people with joy in their life. They look younger. People want to be around them. They just invite that more joy, because that's what they're emanating. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent now. So I do encourage you to start in some sense, some way, to bring in your practice, if you don't have one already, if you had one, if you had a practice and you and maybe you're just wanting to restart or remind yourself, then I encourage you to start again tomorrow. And give yourself time and space and energy to be patient. If, say, you wake up one morning and you forget to do whatever it is that you said you were going to do, don't beat yourself up. Just remember, you can start over. You always have that next morning, and just start again. And then go from there. And then just see, watch, and observe the beauty of listening to your own intuition and how that feels. The beauty of inviting in all of this new energy. Once you start to really tap into your heart space, what I found is as you get closer to that energy and more into your own intuition, you might think about somebody or something, and not very long after that, they call you or they message you or the thing happens, and right, you're so much more tapped into what's going on because we're all so connected, right? Everything's connected, in my opinion. And so once you start to tap into that, into this, you start to tap into all of it, which is powerful. Today, because I am going to start to wrap up now, what I want to offer up to you is a moment before we do wrap up is to set an intention. Because again, we've made the choice to be here together. We have the new moon energy, which is a beautiful time again to create something new in our lives, to move into a new direction, to again live more from the abundant heart space. So I encourage you to, if you don't have something close right now, that you can like a pen and a paper or something that where you can write down whatever it is. But I do encourage you to do that immediately after this finishes, and to give yourself that. It's so powerful, isn't it? When we write something down and we write an affirmation, we set an intention, and maybe you can keep it in a book or keep it in the journal that you're going to start writing in, or go get yourself a journal or something that you like to write in tomorrow, and put your intention there so you can remember it. I will start to wrap up now, and it blows my mind that we've already gone over an hour, and I feel like I only briefly scratched the surface, but I think that's what's beautiful about all of this conversation, is that it's just ongoing, isn't it? There's always going to be more for us to talk about. There's so much to learn from each other. And I appreciate those of you that were able to join me today. Thank you so much for being here. And it's really beautiful I can feel that you've been open to all that I've been talking about, and I appreciate that, because I know sometimes I can get a bit excited and can really, sometimes that scares people. But thank you for being open to my energy and to all that I want to share. And I would love to continue to share with you. I would like to make this webcast more of a regular webcast. So if you have any suggestions or comments or questions or anything, please feel free to send me an email, or you can even send a question on here and I will see it. And I would love that. I have a lot more I would love to have talked about tonight. I have like a whole program that I told you about at the beginning of the webcast that I've been working on that I would love to share with you. And kind of what I've been wanting to do in this was just to kind of touch on some of the topics and some of the themes that I will be diving in much deeper into with this program. So stay tuned for that. I'm definitely going to be offering that up as soon as I can, and that will include a daily practice and videos for those practices. So it's going to be quite detailed and and intimate. and also, if you don't yet, you can follow me on Instagram at Tiny Yogi is my tag, and my Facebook page, if you don't do that as well, Chrissy Beth Yoga. And just, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Any comments, please feel free. Any feedback. This was my first ever webcast, and so thank you to my lovely partner, Craig, who helped me set all of it up. It was a lot more work than I realized, and so I really appreciate all that he did. I'm very grateful that he was so supportive in helping to put this out there. Excited to offer you more as we move forward. And I wanted to finish tonight with just a little bit of something, maybe some, if you will, sound healing. And if you have a few more minutes to spare, I would love to share with you. I am really excited about my new instrument. Do you see this? I've been able to experience a couple of different sound healings here in Bali. So grateful for that, because they've opened up this whole other world for me, and something that I want to experiment with and share with other people. So at this point in time, I would love to have you take a moment or two, and this is just for you, to send you off with love. Oh, my drum's excited. To send you off with love. This is not practiced or rehearsed in any way. I just, I've always loved to sing, and that's something that I want to do more of and put out into the world. So, yes, of course, I'm nervous. So give yourself a moment here to close down your eyes. And again, or maybe you want to lay down. You can lay down now. Maybe you already are. Close down your eyes in your comfortable seat. Or give yourself a moment to lie down, so that you can just, maybe in your mind, either letting it just relax, or if it feels right, to come into focusing on the intention that you want to set for yourself. That intention of whatever it is that you want to move closer to, or that you want to bring more of into your life. So allow yourself to be in your heart space. Oh, heartbeat, heartbeat, listen. Oh, heartbeat, heartbeat, listen to your heartbeat, heartbeat, listen to your own heartbeat, heartbeat, listen. Oh, child, just listen, listen to listen, listen to listen, listen to your heartbeat, listen to listen, listen to listen, listen to your heartbeat. listen. Oh, listen to your, listen to your, listen to your heartbeat. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me, all of you out there. I'm grateful for this time. And that made me emotional. Thank you for your beautiful hearts and for sharing. And I thank you so much for allowing this space for me to be in your your day and listening to my experiences and my offerings, and I just really appreciate that. And even staying to watch me cry. This is pretty normal. This is called having an open heart, being vulnerable. No, thank you. Thank you for listening, and also for listening to the song that's for you and your beautiful heart space. We will continue on in our conversation. So yeah, just we'll definitely be following up with an email. But again, if you have any comments, any comments, questions, any feedback about anything that maybe you want to discuss next time, or anything about this conversation, I'm really be happy to keep it going and to hear from you. And again, I appreciate you, all of you being here. Follow me, and let's keep exploring our awakening, our abundant heart. And we can do that all together as a collective energy. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening, and that this has been inspiring for you, that you can move into this new week with your new moon and your intention, and you can have a beautiful, powerful start to something amazing. So thank you. Until we meet next time. Love from Bali.